Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. Now we're facing the move e4, and I'm going to play a Sicilian defense with c5 here, of course. Now, how is my opponent going to respond? It remains to be seen, but, ooh, okay. They go for a Smith-Mora. Of course, I'm not going to accept. I'm instead going to throw out a little gambit of my own and try to transpose into the pterodactyl. Okay, bishop g7. If knight here, then there's a line which I'm very familiar with where we take. This is kind of transposing into some kind of Alapini approach with the move c3, of course. Then d5, posing a very interesting question. Either take or push past. Now, many people, including my opponent here, are tempted to push past because, you know, you kind of start building up a nice little pawn chain here against the bishop on g7, also just claim a little space. However, here there's a very nice game plan where you can play bishop g4, a rare case where it's pretty good to develop both the bishops before you develop either of the knights, and then I'm just going to play e6. And that seems to be kind of dumb, because, as our opponent shows, h3, and if I go back here, then, I mean, they can just play g4, trapping the bishop, and if bishop f5, well, there's still g4, and I'd probably end up having to trade my bishop off for a knight somehow, but that is precisely what I want to do. Trade that bishop for a knight. Now, why do I want to do that? Well, we've got this nice closed pawn structure in the center, and in general, knights become slightly better than bishops the more and more closed the pawn structure becomes, so immediately this is, you know, a nod towards the fact that actually here, the light squared bishop doesn't have a nice open diagonal to look at, it's just biting on granite here with these light squared pawns, which leads to the second point, which is that after the move a6 here, which I'm just going to play kind of because of the visual of literally having every pawn on a light square, you know, just to make the point that we have a completely light square pawn complex where we just defend every single light square in our position pretty much to an exceedingly strong extent. I mean, have a little empathy for this bishop here. The world to the bishop is only the light squares. The dark squares do not exist to this bishop. And so this elected imbalance where we get rid of our light squared bishop for one of their knights and then build up against their light squared bishop is a super nice way of kind of building a nice cohesive game plan where all your moves make sense together. If our opponent plays bishop e3 here, there we go, in order to stabilize this pawn, which is absolutely a fixed backwards pawn. We do have the move queen b6, where I can put a little pressure on b2, and also further pressure, onto d4 there. But if I do that, I don't really think I'm actually threatening to take on b2 here, because if I do, I don't know, maybe they just infiltrate this way. I should probably castle at some point. Like, queen b6 is definitely a good move, don't get me wrong. But we also have an opportunity to take this bishop here. And in fact, a very, very nice pattern arises where not only after I take this bishop, which I think I'm going to do we get rid of the dark square bishop that could potentially exploit the dark squares. I mean, you just had that extremely dense mess of arrows showing how strong the light squares were. I mean, the sort of flip side of the coin is that all of our dark squares are quite weak and exploitable. So there's an argument to get rid of the bishop on that basis. There's also the argument that after you've played h3, if you now take across with the f pawn, neither of the pawns that originally defended the g3 square can ever do so anymore, rendering this a beautiful little hole for us to exploit at our leisure. So I think I will castle here, and I'm fairly certain I'm going to play knight e7 and then just put this knight back to f5. And honestly, I mean, opponent is expanding. I think they're kind of focusing a little on the wrong side of the board, I don't know. But yeah, look, I mean, okay, fair enough. I kind of see what you're doing here, but I'm going to have this move immediately as a fork. I mean, also, by the way, sorry, if they defend it with queen e2, there's another fork lurking on g3. And so, yeah, the queen slides across to also prevent the g3 infiltration. However, there's an argument to say that not lifting the queen, and thereby not allowing either of the rooks access to defend this pawn, is a bit of a mistake, given that I can play bishop h6 here. Or even queen g5, or both, but I'm feeling like bishop h6 first. I mean, we can do the work with the minor pieces, why not do that? With the threat to just take here with check, take here with check, probably take this, you know, completely mop up all of these pawns here. Our opponent played bishop e3 originally. If we just, oh, hold on, they've pushed. That's interesting. Check is a move. And of course, you're going to have to go to one of these two squares. If check and you go here, and I went here, and you took my knight, and I took this, but then you can take. Honestly, there is just takes like this, and then d4 is going to hang with check. And I find that pretty hard to turn down, honestly. I really don't want to lose this knight, and so I'd rather kind of just, even if the best tactical continuation there was to lose this knight and go for some snaking idea with the bishop or something, I think I would much rather just keep the pony there. And then we are just going to be able to take here with check, hit this, bunch of pressure everywhere, and in fact, it's pretty hard to deny the idea of just bishop d2 here. Hit the queen, hit the knight. I guess you could block with this, but then we hit the queen, you take this, and I can take the knight. Yeah, I really do think bishop d2 is probably going to just win us the game here, honestly. Okay, Bishop d2. We attack the knight, we attack the queen. There's nothing you can do except move the queen unless you decide to go for something like rook d1. But if you do play rook d1, we can take the queen, and then after you've taken our queen, we can back up, saving the bishop while capturing the knight with tempo on the rook. The rook moves, you know, we can take on e5. That's going to clearly be a win. So if there's no rook d1, then either I guess you could play knight e2 maybe. But like our queen is just protected, so we can take, and if knight takes, they do go knight e2. Interesting. We take, knight takes. Ooh, we do have check. That looks fairly convincing, honestly. Oh, hold on. I can take this bishop, hanging my bishop, and then play the potentially brilliant queen takes e2. Oh, come on. Hold on. Here. Check, obviously. Here. I mean, it's just a free piece. Okay, just for the style points, we're going to take here. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's absolutely beautiful. The pony, the beautiful pony, and the g3 square. I cannot stress the importance of having a very deep understanding of the kind of structural weaknesses that you can exploit with a particular opening. The justification that I said before even taking the bishop here, this was about 10 moves ago, was that this square becomes weak, and then we kind of look to then move the knight and exploit that. And even if every move isn't the best move, you see that just having this kind of cohesive narrative to your game makes it so much more likely that you're going to be able to do something meaningful and at least relatively calculated. So, okay, now we're just up a knight and a pawn with just still a beautiful piece. I could also just take this. I mean, this is also a move. Yeah, knight e3 with the threat of a mate and also the threat on the rook, I guess. You go here, maybe? Or we could back it up to here, I guess. Honestly, I don't really see a good reason not to play rook c8 here. I mean, let's just attack the queen. The queen is just sitting there in the open, just dishing out tempo. And then, yeah, now the queen moves off the defensive here. We probably do just have this check. And pretty simply, I mean, my opponent should probably resign here, no? No? Okay. Damn, insane. They just choose not to. Respect, honestly. Rook c2 might be more accurate than taking the rook here. I think I will just go rook c2 here. I think there are a bunch of wins, but rook c2 does to me seem like probably the cleanest. I mean, we threaten the mate. You can't go here, of course. We just check here and mate. So then how are you going to defend this? Well, you can't go here for multiple reasons. Yeah, I think this is just m2 with rook c2 here. I mean, of course they could play queen takes f8, but I would imagine we see resignation here. I'm going to just chug this milk before my opponent resigns. Okay, I mean, they don't resign, but they do blunder checkmate, I guess. Okay, so here we are in the analysis. 96% accuracy here with a 14 average centipawn loss. That means, just for those of you who aren't familiar with Lichess, so on the evaluation bar, if you have a +1 advantage, that's equivalent to saying that whatever the material positional factors are, they equate to having an extra pawn for white with all of the other factors equivalent. So a centipawn is a 100th of a point on the evaluation bar. So let's say in this position, it's -5.4. That's 540 centipawns. Our opponent plays queen to b4 here, 690 centipawns. Their centipawn loss there would be 150 for that move. My average just then, the average centipawn loss was 14, i.e. we didn't fluctuate from the best move on average by more than 0.1 effectively. That is awesome. That is very cool. I also do really like the average centipawn loss stat. I think that's a pretty cool metric, although it doesn't really tell the full story, because you could play all best moves and then hang your queen and still have a pretty good average centipawn loss. Anyway, that was an entirely perfect game of chess is my claim, and you might be thinking, okay, 1 inaccuracy, how is that entirely perfect? Because the inaccuracy is theory, maybe. Or even if the inaccuracy isn't precisely theory, because the actual theory here would be knight here, then this, then this, then this, and this will be known as the pterodactyl defense. Playing g6 here allows the transposition, and should they go for this, bishop g7, I don't know, knight here, there's a very interesting line, I think, actually, with this, queen here, knight here, they develop the knight, there's this, and then a brilliant move, maybe? There's some really dank theory there with tripling the pawns. Anyway, this is part of my prep, so we can write this off as a good move. And then from here, everything else, oh, just beautiful. Opening up the Masters database, you see here that actually there are 360 master games in this position. Bishop g4 is the top move here. And after bishop g4, our opponent went bishop e2, which is a little inaccurate. Knight c6 would have been the best move, but e6 is also perfectly fine. I mean, probably we're going to transpose anyway. And then h3, inaccurate. And my claim is that it's inaccurate precisely for the reason that g3 becomes a little weaker, and that is so exploitable with the knight. And already, once they played h3, I'm looking for these ideas. I mean, once you understand an opening well, this is is one of my most satisfying openings in my repertoire. We take this, we create the problem, we castle. Again, we're slowly building the advantage, as you can see, slowly, and then all of a sudden, our opponent makes a mistake here. They're investing too much tempo on this side of the board. We come in here with the fork, and then as I say, they shouldn't have kept the queen on the back rank because it didn't allow the rook to come across to defend this. Had they gone queen d3, bishop h6, maybe they could have played like rook e1, and then I'd be tempted to go for ideas like, I don't know, knight g3 or queen a5 or maybe even queen g5. You know, still exploring these dark squares, but it would be far less easy than it was after we go here and they end up having to push. Taking is best, taking with check, bishop here, best move, and then, oh, we're letting the engine think for a second, and it's deliberating between taking the queen and taking this. It seems to have the precisely exact same evaluation for each. However, it lists queen takes e4 first, probably just because it knows the swag that you need to play this move. I mean, you can see it's dropped from 7.2 to 4.7 there. If we let this engine run now, look there, it'll catch up. Because after we took, the queen took, we took here, and the point is that if queen takes here, we have check, and then we can win back that queen and just be up a whole pony and a pawn with beautiful pawn structure and not a care in the world. It's interesting that the engine actually thinks this is okay, but the reason is I didn't see it completely clearly, but we do give this check, which I thought about, but after this we have to play bishop c3, which makes sense because then just all their pieces are hanging. But yeah, far cleaner is just to go for what we did, and then they move the queen, we come across, we give the check. It's mate in 5 at this point, we go in, rook c2 is the best move, mate in 4, but that's going to be through, you know, sacking the queen here and then sacking the rook here, and then probably going check here, and then some. I mean, that's probably actually exactly the best line, but of course they went queen f4. Checkmate, delivering the checkmate after ingesting the most optimal branched chain amino acids. I like drinking milk. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comments for that, but I mean, just, you know what I'm saying, healthy bones, a lot of protein. I feel like people that turn their nose up at just drinking pints of milk, I mean, I'm not saying anything, but what, you want weaker bones and smaller muscles? Okay. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed that game. That was insanely clean. I really do like this opening. And before anyone comments, actually, that's basically just the Caro-Kann. Do you see how it took me one move to play c5? In chess, there's a cool thing where you can actually move a pawn 2 moves on the first move, so you don't have to play c6 and then c5. Anyway, the Caro-Kann players need to read the rules of chess again. I mean, they're really missing out here. But thanks so much for watching. I'll be back soon with another video. Go and drink some milk. Goodbye.